check to just see how far this sound carries. So could the people who are like way far back make some sort of arm gesture if you can hear me? If not, I'll speak up. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Wow, I am absolutely so moved to see how many people have showed up to this event. We were expecting maybe 20 people when we first planned it, and you know, that was fine. But it received so much attention, and I am so proud to, I'm just so proud of you guys for just, for, thank you. Also, one thing I would like to preface is that I have never talked in front of this many people in my entire life, so it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I think we should all be stepping out of our comfort zones because something like this cannot be ignored. It can't be stepped over, you know? So, like I said, it takes a special kind of person, and it takes a special kind of, I guess, compassion and special kind of, I guess, love to fight for something that's right, especially when things are going so wrong. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm proud of, I'm so proud of you guys for coming out today, and thank you for supporting this very important movement and for standing with, just standing with the Black community, because we should be supporting them, we should be uplifting their voices, we should be protecting them, and we should be fighting to make this world a safer, more just, and loving place for just, yeah. So, let's see if I have anything else written down to say, because, just a reminder to keep things peaceful, because that's what today is about, is to mourn the countless lives lost to police brutality and the racism that infects this country and its systems. Right now, we're fighting to make real systematic change in this country, and just showing up and really, and just like consciously thinking about it is doing so much. So thank you for using the really strong and powerful voices that you have. Like I said, I'm incredibly moved and about to start crying. So I'm gonna pass this over to my two amazing friends who have helped me set this whole thing up. They've been more help than I could have ever asked for. These are the definition of like phenomenal women. They're incredible, they're brilliant, and I'm so proud to be their friend. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
So, it is no secret that none of the three of us are Black Americans or experience the injustice and violence that Black Americans experience. But we thought that it was really important to use our voices and our privilege to come to terms with the fact that we do have privilege, and that if we do nothing, we are still part of a system that is racist, that takes advantage of Black Americans and Americans of color, and we wanted to do something to stop it. So the best way that we thought we could do it was having a small gathering of maybe, again, 20, 30 people. And then this came so much farther than we could have imagined. We have a couple of speakers lined up for tonight to share their own experiences, to share some of their own thoughts. And then for educational purposes, we wanted to make sure that people are aware it's not the job of your Black friend or your Black neighbor or your Black cousin to educate you. So we have some, educate yourself. We have some resources over there, a bunch of stuff that we printed out for different audiobooks, different novels, different Netflix shows, different places you can donate. You can always do something. If you can't donate money, you can donate time. If you can't donate time, you can learn, you can donate resources. There's always something you can do, and we wanted to make it really easy for you to find out what you can do. There's also water bottles and masks there, in case anyone doesn't have that, because we want this to be a safe event for everyone.
Again, just to wrap everything up, we were not expecting this. We just want to thank you all for so much support, like it's overwhelming actually. We just are amazed that everyone wants to join our mission to spread love, peace, positivity, and awareness, and only way we can fight these injustices is with open-mindedness and education. So thank you so much, everybody. I would like to hand this off to Pastor Dan, who offered to lead us in prayer for the lives that we have lost. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me here tonight. I'm glad to be here. And for probably many of you who don't know me, I am Pastor Dan Pertel. I am the pastor at Bethlehem Lutheran Church, right up the ways here, right before you get to Route 20. And I know there are a few members from Bethlehem here tonight, but it's really, this is a powerful moment to be standing here in our community and to see the witness that you are all bearing tonight. So bear with me. My prayer to begin this night comes from Psalm 13. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death. And my enemy will say, I have prevailed, and my foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. In our tradition, this is one of the Psalms of Lament. It is a cry to God that can be heard over and over during the times of crisis and conflict. They are cries to God begging for action and for intervention in times of great suffering and pain. My prayer tonight is that of lament. My prayer tonight is that the cries that we hear again and again and again of lament once again can be heard throughout our country. After yet another act of police brutality that led to the death of George Floyd. My prayers of lament are for me for not having done enough, for having failed to act, or having been complicit in systems that have served to benefit me my entire life. My prayer of lament is for me as I have failed to act with love and kindness and care and capacity and to seek justice for my siblings. I wonder if this is where you find yourselves tonight, crying this cry of lament, crying because this lament has led you here today, peacefully standing together and raising your voice, calling out the injustice that has been laid before us, time and time and time and time again. I wonder too if this lament is for those officers who faithfully serve their office, for who take their job with care and love and responsibility and honor their community. I wonder if this lament is for them as well as they bear witness to those who dishonor it. This is the lament we must cry. This is the lament we must respond to. This is the lament that must drive us to peacefully and thoroughly bring ourselves to act, just as we are here in this moment today. This is the lament that must be heard so that we might show care and love to our siblings who are suffering on a daily basis. This is the call that comes to us time and time and time again. We are called into love, as we hear in Matthew. We are called to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and on your mind, but then we are called to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. This is the lament that we are hearing these days from our neighbors in their cry for love, their cry to be heard, their cry to be understood, a cry for peace. We must serve our neighbors, we must love our neighbors, not just through the things that we say, but in the ways we respond. What happens here tonight is a starting point, one that is grounded in peace and understanding and conversation and accompaniment. One that leads us out into the world to show a radical love and hospitality to those whose cries of lament have often gone unheard. Sorry, that was a rather lengthy prayer. God, our refuge and strength, we are bound together in common life in all our conflicts. Help confront one another, comfort one another without hatred or bitterness, to listen to your voice and to work together peacefully, to bring love, justice, compassion, and mercy to those whose cries of lament we encounter. Amen.
Wow, thank you so much. That was such a powerful prayer. That was beautiful. All right, now we're going to hear a few words from the Sturbridge Chief of Police. So give it up for the Sturbridge Chief of Police.
Good evening and welcome to Sturbridge. Sturbridge is a community that we welcome all, and we welcome your peaceful rally tonight, and we support your cause. Police officers across the United States hear you loud and clear, and we're upset, just like you. So, we're here to support you. We're hoping for a peaceful night. By the crowd and everybody that I spoke to tonight, it's gonna be a peaceful night. As soon as we heard about this, I started talking to the town administrator over there, Mr. Jeffrey Bridges, and I started talking with my officers, and I started coordinating with the coordinators of this event. We established a partnership immediately. And we said we're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it peacefully. So, I thank you all for coming. I thank you in advance for being peaceful, and I hope you enjoy the night, and thank you, Pastor Dan, for that beautiful prayer.
It's been 10 days. It's been 10 days since George Floyd's murder. I'm just wondering, tangibly, has there been any policy review locally?
She's asking if there's been any policy review locally regarding our use of force policy. We constantly review our policies here in Sturbridge. We're an accredited police agency.
And you guarantee there will be no police brutality for anyone of color in Sturbridge from here till ever?
Bias-based policing is absolutely prohibited, and we have a policy already in place for that. Will not be tolerated under my watch. I have not experienced it here, and I hope I never do.
And you support those who are looking for real, tangible policy change. And they need to speak up about what they're doing to review and update their policy in their own communities.
Police chiefs across America, I see posts from them constantly. They're reviewing, they're taking a look. Law enforcement works hard on community policing. They need to work a little harder, and they need to take a look at what they're doing. Accreditation really helps us because it keeps us in check. Every 3 years, every year we have to review our policies, make sure we have the best practices.
We condemn police violence against people of color. Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
So our friend here in the white is going to be going around in the crowd and taking names of anybody who's interested in coming up here and speaking once we're through. We're primarily prioritizing people of color, but anybody is welcome to say their piece, write their name down.
We also wanted, before we get too far into this, before we start talking about some of the lives that were lost, to let you know that if there is any people driving by, any hate, anything like that. The most powerful thing we can do today, right here, is to just not engage, not to yell, not to fight. Let them drive by, let them shout, because there are more people here today that are here to support than any amount of hate that could come from people driving by, shouting hate at us.
Don't let their hateful hearts deter yours that's full of love. Now, we'll be reading some names of victims of racism and violence in America. We'll be stopping every 3 to 4 lines of people on these sheets to have a minute of silence.
So the 9 minutes is really significant, as many of you know, and for everyone who doesn't know, that's because it took 9 minutes as Officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck before George Floyd lost his life. And it's not an accident, it was a violent act of hate, and it was an act of murder, an intentional killing. We wanted to show just how long 9 minutes is and how much powerful movement you can do in 9 minutes. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to have 9 minutes of silence, broken up every 1 minute, by reading the names of others whose lives were lost. Because this isn't about George Floyd. It didn't start with George Floyd, and it didn't end with George Floyd. This is about Black Americans all over the country who are losing their lives to police violence, to legal violence, to just racism deeply ingrained in America. We wanted to talk about that We wanted to talk about that, and we wanted to show just how long this has been going on for. We don't have a comprehensive list of every name of every Black American who's lost their lives in this country, because to create that list, it would be almost impossible, and it would take way longer than anyone could stand here for today. Because this didn't start with George Floyd, it didn't start with Trayvon Martin, it didn't start with Tamir Rice. It started long ago. It started hundreds of years ago, and it's been going on ever since. We're going to list a few names, and we hope that you will sit in silence with us and think about the significance of what these 9 minutes mean. Thank you.
All right, we'll start off with Kendra James, James Perez, Juanice Hayes, Trayvon Martin, Ahmed Arbery, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, and Sandra Bland. We will have our 1 minute of silence starting now. That concludes the first minute.
We will also be lighting candles to mark each minute if the weather cooperates with the wind. It's a windy day. The names on the list are Philandro Castell, Alton Sterling, Walter Scott, Dino Keller, Oscar Grant, Sean Bell, Terrence Crutcher, Samuel Du Bois, James Clark, Aki Gurley, Ezell Floyd, Dontre Hamilton, Jamae Reed, Antonio Martin, Jeremy McDowell.
Next we have William Chapman II, Anthony Hill, Megan Hockaday, Tony Robinson, John Crawford III, Eric Harris, Keith Childress Jr., Betty Jones, and Kevin Matthews.
As we are entering our 4th minute, I'd like you to remember these are the lives of real people. These aren't just names on the list. These are cousins, sisters, brothers, neighbors, friends of real people. And it took, if this is feeling like a long time, that's because it took 9 minutes for George Floyd to die, to be murdered. 9 minutes, which you could have stopped at any point. We're going to read the next names on the list. Michelle Knoll, Leroy Browning, Miguel Espanol, Nathan Pickett, Keith McLeod, Felix Toomey, Christian Taylor, Darius Stewart, Jonathan Sanders, Brendan Glenn, Brandon Jones, Stephon Clark.
Next we have Terrence Franklin, Miles Hall, William Green, Samuel David Mallard, Botham Jean, E.J. Bradford, Sean Reed, Ariane McCree, Darius Taggart, Kwame Jones, Devon Bailey.
Christopher Whitfield, Eric Logan, Jamaron Robinson, Gregory Hill Jr., Jacques-Yvon Slayton, Ryan Twymar, Brandon Weber, Jeremy Atkinson, Willie McCoy,
Electric Griffin, Jamel Robertson, DeAndre Ballard, Robert White, Anthony Lamar Smith, Ramarley Graham, Manuel Loggins Jr., Wendell Allen, Kendrick McDade.
Larry Eugene Jackson Jr., Jonathan Farrell, Jordan Baker, Victor White, Dante Parker, Kajim Powell, Laquan McDonald, Remuan Brisbane, Mario Woods, Quintonio Legrier, Gregory Gunn, Akil Denkins.
Terrence Sterling, Keith Scott, Alfred Alongo, Jordan Edwards, Danny Ray Thomas, DeJuan Gouloy, Patrick Harmon, Jonathan Hart, Maurice Granton, Julius Johnson, Jamie Johnson, Michael Dean, and finally, George Floyd. Thank you. Thank you. We'd now like to pass it on to Pastor Esteban to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Good evening, and I want to thank you to these young adults who so brave, so strong, took on this event. And I thank you for the opportunity to stand before you, lead you in prayer. As a minister of the gospel, I'm a firm believer that every life is precious in the sight of the Lord. But today, we stand in solidarity and declare that Black lives matter. But one thing is very important, is that we must stand united and remember that the lives of many that were read today, that were lost, they were lost in the hands of individuals that do not represent the majority of the great men and women who daily risk and protect our lives and serve our community. And I thank you for that. So I stand before you with a plea, because prayer is just not about moving God's heart, but it's also about inviting him in and trusting him so he can move in our hearts. We need God to change our hearts in America. We need God to touch us, because our God is a God of righteousness and justice. And I believe justice will be served. I encourage all of us to speak up as you have done today with your signs, with your presence here today. Speak up against injustice. As a colored man, I know how it feels. I live it, I see it, but that does not stop me from understanding that there's some great people that I'm looking at right now. We must speak healing, because many hearts and lives are affected today. We must raise our voices to every act of injustice. Destruction and vandalism of our communities is not the answer and will never be the answer. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King stated, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." As a community, we must learn to listen to the cry of our neighbors. We must listen to the cry of the Black Lives Matter. We must listen and understand that our actions must respond with love. And it's only the love of Jesus Christ that can change our hearts. So therefore, let us pray. Lord, we need you today more than ever. I ask you to please sweep through our nation and heal our land. Restore our strength, renew our minds. Let us search ourselves today, that you may remove all that is not of you. Allow us to become beacons of light in such a time of chaos. Lord, I pray that you comfort the many families and individuals that today are still suffering or are reminded of the loss of a loved one. Be with them, comfort them, strengthen them, give them the courage to continue. And I pray that through your Holy Spirit, we will be led to be light in the midst of darkness. Because your word says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land. So today, Lord, we ask you to heal our land. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, amen and amen.
beautiful. That was really powerful and moving. We had a few people who wanted to speak up and wanted to tell their own stories. If we could have some of the people who had talked to Parker or myself before this event or at some point during this event come up now and speak their stories, speak their experiences, and say what they had intended to say. And if anyone feels moved or compelled to say something, we'll prioritize Black and brown voices because this is inherently at its core an issue that affects Black and brown Americans. But we really do want to hear the stories and the lives of others. Thank you. Could we have, if people had talked about, could we have Miss Viola Ocheng come up? If that would be all right to speak first.
It's quite sad that it's unfortunate things that brings us together as a family, but it's also very comforting to see that all of you here have the same message. And I think the louder our voices get, the better and the higher the chances of getting the justice we are dying for at this point. I am speaking as a mother to a young Black child. I have been very fortunate to live in this community. Believe a few years ago in the Pokemon era, my son was out looking for Pokemon, of course, and then he called me and he said, "Mom, a cop just came by," and my heart sunk, and I go, "What happened?" And he asked me to talk to him and to show him my phone and to show him how to hunt Pokemon. And I go, that was the kindest thing I've ever heard. And I'm so lucky too that I haven't had to tell my son to not present himself in a certain way. And I know 12 years ago when we came to this country, and my son was very young in first grade, and he went to a school where they were the only two Black kids. And he sat at a corner for lunch, and a child came to him and said, "Do you want me to sit with you? Because I don't want you to be alone." And he came and told me this story, and from that day, these two kids have never left each other's side. So I believe there is love. I believe that racism is not born in us. We learn it. And I strongly believe that if we raise our children in a manner that they do not see people for their color, but for the beauty in every person, we will have a very peaceful and loving world. I know from my professional line how racism can hurt. I heard a patient verbally abuse me, and everybody witnessed it, and it did not take 10 minutes. The same patient was choking. I had to save him. And the doctor, who was so moved by the action, came in the room and cried with me and said, "This is a moment we need healing." I never been so moved by that act. She said, I did not like the way this patient approached you. I did not even like the fact that you were the one who ended up helping the patient. I could have let them die, but I didn't. So it is little acts of kindness. We need to be nice to each other. You don't know who is hurting. I could be hurting. I am black, you are white. I could be your helper. We each have problems. You don't know where somebody's coming from, but reach out in love. Wherever you are, spread the love. And I believe this is going to be a better world. I feel the pain of my fellow black men who live in communities with so much hatred around them, with so much insecurity and uncertainty. And my heart bleeds for them. But I also feel that the policemen we have in our community could be an example to the other communities. Maybe there's a way they could teach the other communities that are suffering how to be considerate of each other. I think it's being complacent about each other's suffering that is going to save the rest of the world. And thank you all. Preach the word.
Thank you, Viola. That was very beautiful. We would like to call up Angie Ellison next, if she's around. Angie Ellison. She's right there.
Hello, everybody. I've lived in Sturbridge for about 20 years, and I've never realized there were this many allies in town. One of the things I know that, we stand here, we talk about love and caring for each other. I'm sort of going to be real about it. Looking around and seeing all of these white faces makes me want to cry because of the support and the love. But at the same time, too, the same type of folks that I see are the ones that say, well, all lives matter. She got that job because they needed a woman in that position. Oh, it was because she was a black woman. That's why she got that job. So, one of the things that I wanted to sort of share in my experience is that I am a person of color. I married a white man, and I bore biracial children who self-identify as people of color as well. And I recall someone saying to one of my daughters, well, you're not black, you can pass. And she shared that experience with me. And she said, but Mom, I'm black because I can't deny you. And I said, that's true. But you have to set your own path. And she said, but if I deny you, that's saying that white is the dominant culture and white is okay and black is not. And so when you stand around here and you see in the places and you see people of color and you sort of question it, always remember that you're questioning it from your perspective. And I implore all of you, at some point in your struggle, in your awokeness, because, we're all woke at this point with what's going on. So I thank you for waking up. We've been living it our entire lives. I also ask every single white person, and I get no royalties, I swear to God, to read a book called White Fragility. And if you truly believe that you are an ally, you need to read that book. I think the author's name is Robin DiAngelo. And it's an important aspect of sort of talking about racism from a white perspective, because she too is a white woman who wrote the book. So please read that book and learn how to actually be a progressive liberal ally to Black people. And I say that just to say thank you for all of the support, but there's a lot more work that we need to do. I know from my experience and from where I grew up, we needed to know how to behave when a police officer came by. And I know that a lot of you white folks didn't have to have that conversation with your children. I know that I had to have that conversation with my brothers. You know, you get pulled over, you make sure your hands are visible. And you don't move until the cop comes to you. That's my reality. And thank you for supporting it and making it change and affecting all the change that needs to happen. Thank you.
Next, we would like to call up Rosa Brito, if she would come to say a few words.
Hi everyone. First, I want to start with Black Matters. So, Black Matters is important. So, coming here, I had a lot of thoughts running through. I had a lot in my mind. And I was thinking of what was most important to say. And there was just so much. This whole week has been the most saddening, the most angry I've ever been in my life in a really long time. The 9 minutes that we were silent here, listening to names, I was crying because all those names I had heard before. And it's painful to hear that your brothers and sisters are dying every day. Sorry. So just a quick little snack, a little part of my life, right? So I have nephews and nieces, and I told them today about this protest little gathering, and I was telling them like, hey, your auntie's gonna be going to this place, and the first thing that they told me was be safe and be careful. We want to see you tomorrow. And you don't know how much that hurts. That they're afraid that they won't see their aunt the next day because of what they're seeing in TV, and because they know that their aunt is someone of color, and so are they. And I don't want my nephews and nieces to keep growing up with this fear of being people of color, because that is not fair for them. It's not fair for any of us. And when I sit with my partner and we question our future of, do we want to have kids? And we sure do, but they have to deal with not just having lesbian parents, but on top of that, having parents of color. And being a child of color. So you're gonna be a child of color of lesbian parents. Now you're gonna have double the pain and double the suffering and double everything on top of you. So I don't know if that's necessarily what I want for their future. And I don't know if this country is ready for their future either. So I'm standing here to ask for a few things. First of all, I'm a psychology and Spanish major working in my master's. I'm currently a clinician and a caseworker. And all I'm asking is, please get educated. Go out there, get educated. Look into yourself. You need to look into yourself first. Look at your own biases. Look at the society you grew up around. Look at what stereotypes you have, so that once you figure those things out, you can go out and get educated. You can go out and read and watch movies and documentaries, have conversations with the community, because you know your own privilege and you can push them to the side so you can listen to what other people are feeling, to what other people's stories are, and to what their pain consists of. Because my pain, unfortunately, is not your pain. My pain is my pain. People of my color know what their pain is. So please, please, please go out there and get educated. Have those conversations. Go out there, get involved with the community. Start donating. Start participating in activities. Start participating and start teaching your kids that it's okay to be friends with someone of color. It's okay to date someone of color. It's okay to go out and try new food. It's okay to travel to other countries. And it's okay for us to become knowledgeable, because with knowledge is where equality exists, where equity exists, where we can stand at the same point. Use your privilege, use it wisely, and use it to make sure that other people of color, you can bring them to the same point and level that you're at. Unfortunately, we can't always do that alone. So please, 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 please use your privilege, acknowledge it, and use it in favors of others in your community. I live right next door. I live in the town of Southbridge, and unfortunately, we still have a lot to grow, and so does Sturbridge. So let's grow together, let's educate ourselves, and let's move forward together as a true community.
Thank you so much, Rosa. That was so empowering and beautiful. Next, we would like Michelle Connors to come up here. Michelle Connors.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm also the Sturbridge Animal Control Officer. I work under the Sturbridge Police Department, and if you haven't noticed, I have brown skin. I'm the only police working under the police officer with police department with brown skin. So I'm it. I work with white officers, male and female. And I will tell you, I've lived in this town for over 30 years. I've been doing this job for, 4 or 5 years or so now. Every single one of these officers has my back. Every single one of them. There has never been a time when I had to call and they have not shown up. So I get that there are bad officers out there. I absolutely get that. I ride both sides of the fence of law enforcement and having brown skin. I've traveled all over the country. I've seen it, I've felt it, I've been in racist situations. But I just wanted to shout out to my team, my police officers that I work with every day. I know I cannot wait to figure out if they are racist. I have to be able to trust them, because my life can be in danger and I need to know that they're going to be there. So shout out to Sturbridge Police Department. I am so proud to work with them. I am so absolutely excited to see all of your faces out there. Thank you.
Next up, we would like to invite a friend of ours personally, who means a lot to us, Matt Morales. So if you come up and say something.
Hi everyone. I'm going to make this quick. So my name is Matthew Morales. I'm biracial. My dad's name is Jose Morales. He's from Citra, Puerto Rico. Growing up, I grew up with my cousins who all had different color skin than I did. I was white and they were all brown. They all came from Springfield, and I lived in a very conservative town called Granville, Massachusetts, until I moved out here. I remember one day I was at a cookout that my aunt was having, and I was like maybe 6, 7 years old, and I said to my dad, like, why don't I have skin like my cousins? Like, I want that. And he sat me down and he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, I pray to God and I thank God every night that you don't have the same color of skin that I have. And I've kept that with me to this day. He's told me countless of times that he just feels so lucky that he was able to have a white son with my mom. He didn't teach me Spanish because he wanted me to be as white as I could be, and he still tells me that. And it was very hard to hear, and it's something that I think about a lot, and it makes me check my privilege a lot. I'm going to tell a quick story about a pullover that I experienced with my dad. I was on my way to one of my basketball games, and we got pulled over by a police officer. And my dad looked perfectly calm, had both of his hands on the wheel, and he always gave me this tip to roll down all of your windows because if you do that, they'll trust you more. He rolled down all of his windows, had his hand on the car, and the police officer walked up with his hand on his gun, about to draw it. He looked at my dad and he said, "Do you know how fast you were going, boy?" I've been pulled over before and I've never, ever been called boy. And I'm Puerto Rican, just like my dad, and it's just because of the color of my skin. And that's not the only time that my dad has been called boy or son after getting pulled over. It's almost every time. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. When I got pulled over for the first time, I was like, oh, maybe, I was hoping they were going to do the same thing to me. I was hoping they were going to disrespect me like they did my dad. And no, they came up to me, and I'm the 16-year-old kid, and they said, "How are you doing, sir?" They called me sir, and I was 16 years old. My dad was a 40-year-old man with gray hair. He worked just like everyone else. He worked hard. And that police officer had the audacity to call him boy and pull him out of the car and push him against the car because he said he smelled marijuana in my dad's car. My dad was not a smoker. I never made it to that basketball game. So I just want to say that for all of us that have white skin, we really need to check our privilege often, and I know that's said a lot, but it's very, very important because it's very, very easy to forget how lucky we are. Thank you so much.
I'd like to call up another young woman who is so strong and so beautiful, who texted me last night and said, "There's no way I'm speaking. I'm not a public speaker." And I'd like to call up Miss Sarah A., who decided that something had to be said that only she could say.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and as Rosie said, I'm not a public speaker. I'm the shy kid in class, actually, usually just freeze up, don't say anything. But I thought this was very important to say. As I look out here, I see a lot of people who I know from school. I'm in show choir, so I see a lot of people who I've shared the stage with, and I'm super proud to see them here. So I see Becca Mahan, Sophia Cook, Ava, May, I see Emma Bullock. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. So I just want to say something that has been bothering me for a very long time, and it is the description of a black person. So I've seen people describe black people, and it goes like this. Oh, they're tall, they have black hair, they have brown eyes, they weigh around 100 pounds, they're, just say it, they're black. It's not a crime to say it. I'm black and I'm gorgeous. racism. You are adding to diminishing their light and who they are. It's just so I can say someone is white and no one's gonna look at me weird for it. So just say it. It's not gonna make any difference. It's not gonna make you a worse person. If anything, it's really gonna make you a much better person than who you are today. Thank you.
Next, we'd like to call up a Tiandra. If there's, oh.
Yes!
Hello everyone, my name is Tiandra, and just like she said, I am also not a public speaker. I would just like to put it out there that plaque comes in all variations, not just, it comes in so many different variations. I grew up in Dudley, and I grew up in a biracial family, my mom being white and my dad being African American. And from such a young age, he taught us that racism still exists in this country, whether people want to deny it or accept it. The biggest example I have of that is when me and my little brother used to go into the store with my father and asked if, "Are you okay? Do you know this man?" That breaks my heart because my father walked in the Martin Luther King March 40 years ago. And it is still happening. We need to start with our school systems. Teach them about African American history. I had one teacher my whole entire high school, from kindergarten to high school, one teacher who taught me African American history, and it was in February. That's it, during Black History Month. We need it to be taught all year round, not just in February. I would also like to thank everyone for coming out today because it warms my heart that so many people are above the ignorance that still exists. Thank you, and I love you all, and thank you for being here and speaking up for those who cannot speak.
Hi, so we have a couple more people who would like to speak. Yes, it is past 6:30, but who cares, because we are listening to these amazing voices who are being so courageous to speak up. So thank you so much. Yeah, we'll have like 3 or 4 more people speak, and then we'll conclude this.
Next, we'd like to call up Miss Cora Brown, if she would like to say a few words.
Hi everybody. It's nice to see everybody here together. As I look around, we're all different color and different shapes, different sizes, but you know what? We're all made in the image of God at the end of the day. So I'm just gonna tell you a little story real quick. So this is Jazzy, my little niece. She came to help. She has no idea what's going on. We had to explain to her, and it was kind of sad that we had to actually explain what we were coming here to do today. But I was raised by my grandmother. She raised me and my cousins together in Brooklyn, New York. She raised us, and I had a cousin. My cousin, her name is Azita. She's African American and half German. So growing up in a house with a person that was German and the rest of us looked like me, it was kind of difficult for her. And then going out, we used to think, I used to say to people like, I have a cousin, I used to want to fit in with the white people. So I used to say, I have a cousin that's half German. And everywhere I went, people would know that. So I felt like I had to fit in with everybody else. But looking back now, I see that I don't need to fit in with nobody. Like, if you don't love me for who I am, then you're missing out, you understand? And as I look around, coming to be a believer that believes in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, I understand that we were all made in His image. There's nobody that's less than. It doesn't matter what your position in life is, if you have a job, if you don't have a job, how old you are, how young you are. Kids don't grow up thinking, let me be racist today. It's something that's taught to the kids. And if it starts with the parents at home, teaching the children when they're small to love everybody, doesn't matter who you are. And my grandmother, I have white friends, black friends, and let me tell you something. When you come to my grandma's house, she says, you're my grandkid, you're my grandkid. It doesn't even matter what you look like. So coming together today and just seeing unity, and like the last girl said, standing above the ignorance. We're standing above the ignorance. If you look around, the majority of the people here are white people. I was kind of scared. I'm like, whoa, we're going to Sturbridge? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. But I love to see this. That means there's something changing, and God's doing something in this globe. God's doing something. So if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, today's the day. Believe in God, because God is fighting for all of us, for for us to be equal, for unity, for every single person that's here today. So thank you for coming out. Black lives matter. Your life matter. My life matter. And it always will. Thank you.
We'd like to call, is it working? Madison Sire. Sear. Yay.
Hi, my name is Madison Sear. I'm 9 years old, and I would like to say that just because of the skin color on somebody, it doesn't mean that you get to treat them badly. It's not the skin color that matters. It's not how old they are. It's not anything that they are. It's who they are inside that really counts. In our future, I wish to have happiness, loving, and no more fighting and getting mad at other people just because of their skin color. I want justice. I want no more fighting because of a different person's skin color. I would like to say thank you for all the black people and white people that showed up for this. It really makes me happy to see how many people appreciate other people. That's all.
We would like to call up Miss Zara Fulcher. I'm sorry.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Fulcher and I'm from Spencer, Massachusetts. I told my friends I wasn't going to speak today, but a few people who are half white like me inspired me to give a different perspective than I did yesterday at the North Brookfield protest, so thank you if you went to that. So I am half white, half black. My dad is an immigrant from Ghana, Africa, and If you know me personally, and all my friends always say he's the cutest man alive. He does everything for my family, and I love him with all of my heart. But from literally the first grade, that is not the farthest back, I can remember from kindergarten, but the first things I started actually paying attention to was in first grade when my mom would bring me to school because my dad works 3 jobs, very hardworking, always to this day, and she would always have to bring me to school, and the first thing kids asked was, "Are you adopted?" How does a 6-year-old know that just because I am black and my mom's white that I had to be adopted? That there was no way that my dad was in the picture. My mom always tells me stories of when I was first born, from literally my first doctor's appointment, where they're like, "Did you adopt her right from birth?" Because there was no way my dad could be in the picture because the stereotype is that black fathers don't stay around. Like, I've never understood that, and from that start, I've always characterized myself to be in the light of all the white people around me. I am one of the only black people in my class, and I'm not even fully black. And that says a lot about the town that I'm in. It's not very diverse. So until just last year, class of 2019, when I graduated, I still was doing things so that my friends would accept me and like me. And I know that the people around me today, they don't care. I am my complete self now, and I will never ever change myself again just for the people around me. I've done it all. I bet a lot of mixed girls can relate to literally burning your hair so that it's straight instead of wearing it out, because the second that you wear your hair out, they're like, "Ooh, fun. Can I play with it? Can I touch it?" No, don't touch me. Leave me alone. I'm just trying to do my thing, and I've had a lot of people show their true colors within just this last week alone of what their true views are. I can see the difference if you're just posting so that you seem active, but then you don't do anything more than that. Are you actually donating? There's so many ways to donate without actually giving money. There's so many ways. Just educate yourself. Read deeper into everything that's always happened. This is a systematic issue. It is not recent. It's not new. And we need to look so deep within ourselves to actually keep the change going on. So thank you.
All right, so we've got Sarah up next, and then she'll be our last speaker. So Sarah, if you could come up here and just say a quick thing about your Facebook page that you wanted to promote, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Hi, I just want to make a quick announcement that yesterday a Facebook group formed called Sturbridge Against Racism. Some people kind of fleeing the main Sturbridge group's reactions to tonight, and it's searchable. You can request to join. It may take a minute for us to approve you, because we want to make sure that it stays people committed to anti-racism. But yeah, just search for Sturbridge Against Racism, and we can continue the work that these wonderful young people started tonight.
All right, so we are coming to the conclusion of this amazing, just amazing community event that I am so proud to have helped create, and it's just so heartening to see you all come and stand together. And I think listening to so many speakers it's just so incredible to like hear their stories and what they have to say, and I think it's really important to just start talking more, because I think communication and I think communication solves so many problems, and just listening and learning. So please, please just keep listening and keep learning. Never stay silent, and thank you so much for showing up. I'm sure this means the world. So thank you so much, and we're just gonna have
words, and then we're gonna get out of here. So stay safe. Thank you.
So I just wanted to say one last thing. This event was wonderful, it was beautiful, and way more people than we could have imagined showed up. And seeing all of your faces, it's great. It's really great. But I want to talk about the fact that coming to a protest, posting a black square on Instagram, tagging post on Twitter or hashtag Black Lives Matter isn't enough to make real change. And my biggest fear is that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 1 year from now, there won't be as many people who care. There won't be as many people who are actively fighting racism. And it's not enough to just not be racist. I know that as someone who has my whole life been involved in politics, been involved in women's rights and gay rights, in black rights and POC rights, it's hard. And especially when you find yourself in a position where like, well, I'm not black, but I couldn't be racist, I'm gay. I couldn't be racist, I'm Hispanic. I couldn't be racist, this, that. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for any of it. I know that in my life, because my mother is not entirely Caucasian. We have like Middle Eastern and Greek and Lebanese and North African. You know, sometimes the worst that's gonna happen to me is teachers are gonna mispronounce my name. I have to buy the expensive hair products in the different sections because my hair is curly. I'm not gonna face the same injustice that black Americans face every day because my skin is white. And being a person of color, being proud of your culture isn't enough. You have to recognize that there's a difference between being a person of color and being black in America today. You have to recognize that as a white person or as a person of color, this is our fight too. This is our time to stand up and make it a better world for our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. Marsha P. Johnson, a black transgender woman, marched at Stonewall. She led the riot that started, it didn't start, but it was a big step in the gay rights movement. And now today, we can have gay and lesbian marriage all throughout the United States. We can walk down the streets holding hands of the same gender or being transgender, and it's not perfect, but we can have a safer life because of the actions of people 40, 50, 60 years ago. And this is what it's about now. I'm protesting now because I don't want to have to do this again in 60 years.
On a closing note, so many people, I feel, our biggest root of evil is the fact that people are just afraid of what is different and what's different than them and what's unknown and confusing. But as we have witnessed here today, I think we can all say there is unity in diversity. So thank you, everybody.